Adventure Time was an emphatically weird show. It would have to be to get the guy who played Badger in Breaking Bad to say this.
Oh, those men and their disgusting, fantastic bodies!
People joked about the show being weird constantly. Even Mad Magazine got into it. One of the chief culprits of that weirdness has to be the Ice King. Not only was he the first antagonist ever shown, given he's the villain of the show's pilot, for the first 3 seasons of the show's run, Ice King was the show's only recurring antagonist. That being stated, Season 2 was when something had distinctly changed. Up till that point, Ice King was treated like a bad guy, but he was more like a particularly irksome pest. You know, somebody that Finn and Jake could handle just fine. And most of his plans were more silly than outright threatening. The most obvious example of a change in antagonist has to be the introduction of the show's least humorous and most actively dangerous villain, the Lich. With the Lich around, Ice King was about as threatening as a wet hot dog bun. This episode marks the point of no return for the character of Ice King, though. Beginning our story, Jake has led Finn by way of a treasure map to a spot where he's buried something. After digging it up, it's revealed that Jake buried a suitcase. As he explains, he found it at the dump and never opened it before burying it. Opening it to reveal it's full of VHS tapes, causing Finn to remember that he's seen this suitcase before. During a night when Jake was hanging out with Lady Rainicorn, hanging out with his girlfriend alone, which will obviously have no repercussions, Finn saw Ice King burying this suitcase and talking to himself about how it had tapes inside with horrible secrets on it. Finn was waiting for Ice King to leave to go get it, but he lost interest and forgot about it after watching Ice King play in the dump's booger pile for a couple hours. Deciding to have a secret screening at the treehouse, printing up flyers, not to advertise but to let people know not to bother them, they get BMO to start playing the tapes, revealing that these tapes are the Ice King's video diary, and when Ice King said the tapes had horrible secrets on him, he may have been embellishing.
Oh, Ice King, I wanna be with you!
While going through the first tape, Finn still thinks there might be something they can use, so he thinks they should keep going. In the process, the boys decide to sit on the floor so BMO can be closer and not feel so isolated, and break out a nice smattering of baked goods. Ice King is messing around with his magic in the forest when he sees one of the boys' flyers. Unaware of what they're watching, he starts flying over to see what it is. During the boys watching his penguin dance party, they realize Ice King is at the door. Initially, they try to stay quiet so he'll think they aren't home, but before he leaves, Finn's bath alarm goes off, causing Ice King to at least know that BMO's there. With them being convinced that Ice King knows they have his tapes, they resume the viewing, starting to engage the fast forward, trying to get to the juicy bits faster. The trouble is that they can't identify any kind of horrible secret from anything they're watching. Jake suspects that Ice King is talking in code, so they call Princess Bubblegum to ask about how to crack this hypothetical cipher. Initially, they get disconnected before Bonnie can tell them anything, though they try to call her again, getting Ice King, who's intercepted the call by hijacking the phone line. The boys notice pretty quickly.
What are you doing? I wanna watch secret tapes with you guys.
Now that the boys know that Ice King doesn't know they're watching his tapes, they resume the viewing. However, into part 2, they don't resume until they put on big sweaters and get Coco, due to Ice King using his powers to induce a winter-esque state in the forest to try and play hardball. After getting BMO to turn toward him though, the Ice King finally realizes what they've been watching, and he seems more incensed about them being cozy whilst doing it, making a snowman army to try and storm the treehouse. Though not before BMO claims that they've cracked Ice King's code by way of his tears.
What does it mean?
Ice King mobilizing a snowman army, which fails on him due to not making them that smart, the boys hide under Finn's bed to keep watching, having made it to him trying to stage a newscast about Gunther trying to eat his socks and mid-kidnap of Wildberry Princess. Meanwhile, Ice King found a way in. Letting the snowman in and putting on a tablecloth toga, while Finn and Jake continue to be actively befuddled by the tapes. Ice King is momentarily entranced by a snowman who has an apple stuck to its face.
Leader of the pack. Well, now you look boring.
Having found the boys, they engage in melee with the snowmen. BMO interrupts by pointing out that there's one last tape, and based on Ice King's reaction, it's the tape that above all others, he does not want them to see. So, on Finn's orders, BMO plays the tape.
Hello, my name is Simon Petrikov.
Revealing that Ice King used to be Simon Petrikov, an antiquarian who lived before the Great Mushroom War, who discovered the crown and without realizing what would happen, put it on, causing him to do something, explaining that Ice King's crown is cursed. Ever since that point, he never saw his fiancée Betty again. We later learn where she went, but that's a literal story for another day. As the tape goes on, it becomes obvious that in addition to keeping him alive, the crown is slowly but surely changing Simon into the Ice King, his sanity hanging by a razor's edge. This also explains the Ice King's weird fascination with kidnapping princesses. It's a side effect stemming from his broken psyche trying to replace Betty.
And then maybe Betty, my princess, maybe you will love me again.
From this point onwards, who Ice King as a character has fundamentally changed. No longer is Ice King viewed as an antagonist. Instead, he's a tragic victim. The show drawing a line in the sand on Ice King being crazy, not evil.
Now you know my secret. You know that I used to wear glasses.
As the show goes on, we even learn that he and Marceline have a personal history, given that before he fully succumbed to his psychosis, he was the one who protected her back before she became an immortal vampire.
Vandalism is wrong, Marcy.
Okay.
It's even codified that seeing the tape changed how Finn perceives Ice King.
That's how you see him? That's beautiful. Sure, I mean, it's hard not to sometimes.
We also later learn in an episode very, very, very far down the series' run where the crown even came from, and more importantly, why it does that. So, you can understand why the writers felt it necessary to give Simon his life back by the end of the series. Now, whether old Simon fits into Ooh is another matter for a spin-off to show. Regardless, in the aftermath, Finn gives Simon his tapes back, and because it's Ice King, he thinks Finn gave him a bunch of tapes as a gift, returning the gesture of kindness with a small pine tree and a skunk. And so, because of this, a new once-a-year tradition is born. When the weather gets cold, Finn, Jake, Simon, and select members of the citizens of Ooh gather in big ol' sweaters to watch tapes and celebrate the day the boys had a fleeting moment of sympathy for Ice King, the biggest weirdo in Ooh.
It was a miracle. Good night.